How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bodacious Rant. I think it is safe to say for me personally, this has been one of the, if not the strongest movie weekend this year, and maybe in a long time. And the reason why is because we had some big drops this week. I think bigger than I thought they were gonna be, just because it was one of those things. I'm like, I don't know, like if people really care about movies as much. Because Bern, you know that when we've gone to the movies and stuff, even for big ones and stuff like Mission Impossible, like I've never seen a theater that packed, or even the area we were in that packed for movies like this.
Yeah, I mean, like, I haven't seen a theater look like this since, before the pandemic, basically. Like, since probably, like, Avengers Endgame was, like, the last, like, biggest movie. Like, I know, we've had big movies since then, Spider-Man, Top Gun Maverick. But, yeah, just, like, it seems like these movies that we're going to be talking about, it's like, it was more than just, like, a really good weekend at the movies. This was kind of like a cultural event. And that was like something I wasn't like anticipating going in until we walked through the theater doors and saw how many people were there for the movies. It's just it was really crazy. It was really cool to see too.
Absolutely. I mean, but like we're gonna get started in a second. I don't mean to ramble on, everyone, but it's one of those things. Like really think about these two movies. They are probably some of the biggest cultural impacts, not only on U.S. history as well as just pop culture. So I think that's kind of makes sense now, actually, that we're talking about it. But today we are going to review Oppenheimer, which is Chris Nolan's latest movie starring Cillian Murphy, Florence Pugh, Robert Downey Jr. Oh my God, I can't think of anyone else. It's such a stacked cast. Emily Blunt as well. I can't believe I forgot her. And literally it is just the retelling of, one of the, if you can look at it in two ways. It was one of the biggest moments in science and U.S. history, or it could have been like, the beginning of the darkest times in American, history as well, just because of the impact it had on everyone involved. And it's IMAX everywhere. If you have the chance, some theaters are offering 70 millimeter screenings as well, which is like legit IMAX. So if you have a chance to see those, definitely recommend it. Also, this is a non-spoiler review, given this is U.S. history, but for the movie's sake, we're not going to go too much into all of it. So keep that in mind. Also, do not forget to give us a like, ring the bell, and of course subscribe. We always appreciate you all, and we just, like I said, enough thanks, enough blessings, and everything going around, Bern. So yeah, like I said, this takes place around World War II. When Oppenheimer was kind of at the peak of his career. He's teaching at UC Berkeley, quantum physics, but then, the Nazis start invading, Europe, and that's when it's like, okay, we got to start getting into the war effort, and rumors of building a massive weapon. They didn't want to say it because it's science related, but essentially it was the creation of the atom bomb. And yeah, that's pretty much all I could say about it. It was just such a great cast, and for a 3-hour movie, in my opinion, I thought it was really well paced. My heart was like just constantly racing, like thinking all these things that are happening, and even some of the slow moments for me, I enjoyed because they had some good dialogue, some good acting moments. Kind of like what was the last movie? Oh yeah, like Mission Impossible. There were a lot of good like personal moments between characters in that movie, so that's kind of what I was thinking of. And in all honesty, before I pass it off to you, Bern, I feel like this is Chris Nolan's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just a culmination of all his movies and all his cast, and even a shitload of new people that I would never expect to see in this movie. They were all in it, and a couple of them that stood out to me the most were, do I want to say it? Yeah, I'll say it. Why not? Olivia Thirlby, she's in this one in a random role. We got Matthias Schweighöfer from, I probably butchered his name. I apologize to all the German fans out there. But he was in Army of the Dead and Zack Snyder's movie, and Army of Thieves. So I think that was kind of a nice little thing to see him, like, they were probably talking like, hey Chris, you need a good actor? Take my boy Matthias, he's got you. And he's like, oh, thank you, Zach. I do appreciate that. Yes, that was a bad British accent. I apologize, but I'm just trying to have fun with it. Other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think it's the creme de la creme of Chris Nolan's movies. What did you think of this, Bern?
Coming into this, I was obviously really excited. Any Nolan movie is a very like it's a big event. He's one of the directors that kind of has carte blanche in Hollywood to just kind of do whatever he wants to do. So, but with that, there's positives and there's negatives, and I think in the with the last couple of movies, he's kind of gotten a little bit lost in the spectacle of it all because he has all these things readily available to him, especially with Tenet, which I still really enjoy. But that movie just there wasn't a lot of meat there for me, outside of the really cool visuals and stuff. So, coming into this, hearing that this is going to be a biopic and about Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, I'm like, okay, this is going to be sort of Nolan's toned down in terms of like he has to focus in on a character and story and interpersonal relationships. So coming into it, I was like, okay, this is probably going to be something a little bit different, and I think it kind of was, like this is a 3 hour long biopic about again the father of the atomic bomb and everything leading up to that and some things leading like after it and stuff. And I thought the way that he portrayed it was really really well done. Like this movie has, I feel like, a lot in common with The Social Network, where it's a lead up to the creation of something and sort of relitigating what that meant and who the person that made it, who they were, like basically like a character study on them. So if you really like that movie, I think you'll really enjoy this one too. When it comes to the visuals and stuff, like I mentioned, Christopher Nolan is kind of like second to none, and like him and his team especially. I mean, he's been working with cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema. I hope I said that right, but he's worked with him on his last few movies, and you can just see these two are really working at the top of their game with the visuals in this. Even though this movie is a lot of just people in rooms like talking to each other, there's it's so dynamic, and like you mentioned, the pace of the movie really makes you feel anxiety, and it really like gives a lot of momentum to just people talking, which is like in a 3 hour movie you're like that can feel like it can get old, but it really doesn't here. It didn't for me, at least. So that was really cool. And also, I mean, Ludwig Göransson's score for this movie too helped to add to that sort of propulsive nature of the story. And he worked with Nolan in the last movie Tenet. So it was really cool to see him back doing the music for this one too. Because I know Hans Zimmer was a very frequent collaborator, but it seems like Ludwig is kind of taking up that mantle, and he's been doing amazing work. I mean, with the Black Panther movies, and then now Tenet and Oppenheimer. So that all leads to like really good stuff here in this movie. But I think the big thing with this movie is Cillian Murphy's performance as Oppenheimer. He just knocks it out of the park. I've been a fan of his for a long time, and he's been in a lot of Nolan movies as side characters, and I've always thought, man, it would be really cool if he got like a lead role, and he got it with this movie, and man, did he run away with it. I think he's probably a lock right now for the best actor Oscar. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, we're still like halfway through the year, but it's his to lose right now because the way he portrayed Oppenheimer, in different points of his life, and what the building of the atomic bomb did to him. I thought it was all really really well portrayed. So excellent, just excellent all around.
Absolutely, Bern. I definitely agree with you on all of that. Yeah, the visuals thing was definitely um, a big deal. I think Chris Nolan, with this movie especially, has solidified himself as probably the best practical effects director of our generation, at least. Just because he said himself, he not only is it shot in all IMAX, but he definitely maybe like 1 or 2% of this movie is all like is any CGI involved. So that was pretty impressive as it was. And again, the thing that got me was just so many great actors playing like very like historical characters and stuff, like people you haven't seen in a while. Like I said, Olivia Thirlby caught me because I was thinking, I'm like, I haven't seen her in anything in a long time, but the fact that she came back out for a Nolan movie, I'm like, that's pretty cool. Um, so that was kind of like almost nostalgia, very exciting for me. But yeah, just Killian Murphy, man, he slayed it, and Florence Pugh, such a the moment she had in this movie, just man, really just quite almost like a chaotic agent herself. Just such a great actor in that. Emily Blunt did a great job. Robert Downey Jr. still got it, post MCU, which is great that these actors, like the MCU actors, that are no longer part of it, are still doing great stuff. So,
And I would say for him, he's making a case for a supporting actor nomination for this movie because he was fantastic. I mean, for the last 15 years, he's been basically playing one role, so we kind of forget how of an excellent actor Robert Downey Jr. is here, and here as Louis Strauss, very good stuff.
Exactly. And having said all that, this is gonna be another one of those for me. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5, just because again, it's just that I think I will agree with some that this is Chris Nolan's masterpiece. That this is probably his best movie. And again, it's okay to have favorites. You know, maybe I'll look back in like a year or two and be like, nah, I still love Inception or The Dark Knight better. But this movie just accomplishes so much on its own. It's like you have to have appreciation for just the art of filmmaking alone with this movie. So, yeah, I loved it. I'm definitely gonna go see it again in IMAX if possible. And yeah, I can't wait for it. So, what would you give this rating, Bernie?
I mean, yeah, like this is Nolan, at his best, and even though I do have like a couple of things where, although I thought overall the pace of the movie for a 3 hour movie did move pretty quick, there were certain moments that it's a 3 hour movie, you're gonna feel it, and it felt like it did lose a little bit momentum in the last third, but picked it right back up and shot to a really really satisfying ending, and I mean, for me, I think there was certain things where it's like I know it wasn't the movie he was trying to tell, but there was things I felt like could have been a little bit elaborated on in terms of Oppenheimer's personal life. But for the movie that Nolan wanted to make, and that is about Oppenheimer, the physicist, the father of the atomic bomb. What he did here was really excellent. So even though I do have those minor gripes, this is also going to be a 5 out of 5 for me, and I think this is probably right now in the lead, like I said, for best actor, best supporting actor, and I would even say best director and best picture. I think a lot of the technical aspects of this movie are excellent, and there's some really good competition coming out later this year, but I think this is probably the Oscar frontrunner so far, and it's excellent, really really good. And I mean, Christopher Nolan is back to form in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll definitely, especially the thing with Tenet, because as much as really cool as Tenet was, there was just so much going on in that, and it's like, what are you trying to say here? What are you trying to do with this? So, yeah, I'm glad that this one definitely felt like a better direction, given you're retelling history essentially through a lens. So, I appreciate that. But like I said, guys, we will talk about our other movie that really rocked this weekend in another review. So keep an eye out for that one. Let us know in the comments if you had a chance to see this. What did you think of it? Was it exciting to you? Did it drag on too much? Did it really kind of enlighten you to some parts of history and stuff? We'd love to know. So let us know in the comments with that. Stay tuned for more reviews, and July's almost done, and then we're getting to August, and the fall season is upon us for some movies. So keep an eye out for those, and stay bodacious and keep on Rant for the both of us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and studios, pay your dang creatives.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, seriously, for all power to the SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild. They got to get their dues. So hopefully that can get resolved quickly.
Yeah, we don't get things like this without them, and excellent weekend for movies, and they're the ones that get these done. So until after all that, we'll see you all on the next one, everybody.